Hey everybody, welcome to Goots' Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Ray Goots, and with me, as always, is Andrew Lee, bro. Andrew Lee, bro, how you doing, bro?
I am doing great. Did you watch that video that The Rock posted?
So we're recording this Friday afternoon. Rock made a 15-minute video. No, I didn't watch it. I've been busy all day.
Oh, he explains he because you remember how that whole thing was like a lot of it didn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, he makes it make
He,
sense.
he finally explained everything. So
Oh, good for him. Yeah, I'll watch it one day. Not right now. But I'll tell you what we did watch. Super Brawl 3. And I gotta tell you, Andrew Lee, bro, I thought this was the best WCW show in a long fucking time of the ones we've been covering. What did you think?
I would actually say it is the best WCW pay-per-view we've watched so far.
Real? You're gonna say it's okay. I might agree
So
with you.
far, so far up to now. I mean,
Up to now, yeah, I was shocked how good this was. I did see Slamboree 93 as a kid, which is the next one in WCW. I thought it was
mhm.
dog shit. So I I wasn't looking forward to this thing. And man, this one was really good. This is what WCW should be, and quite frankly, AEW or TNA. This is what they should be. And what they are is they are the alternative WWE with a focus on wrestling and violence, but they still have storylines and characters. Like it's not you don't have to abandon storyline and characters. And just a really good show, and the crowd is super hot. And I think they're hot for two reasons. Number one, Ric Flair comes back on this show, and number two, Bill Watts is the fuck out of here. And you can feel it every second of this show that Bill Watts and Jim Ross are fucking in the unemployment line. I don't know, right? You can feel
Yeah,
it, man.
yeah. This was if WCW was like this the whole way through, I can totally see why people would say it was better than WWF, right? Even
Mhm.
though maybe like popularity wise, you know the viewership you can't tell. I can see if this was like this the whole way, people would be like, oh, WCW is way better than WWE. But this is 1993.
Mhm.
From what I've been seeing up until this point, it's clearly WWE is a better product,
Yeah,
right? And to be fair, even though this is the best WCW pay per view I've seen so far, it's still not as good as some WWF pay per views. You
it
know?
still has some problems, but
Yes.
all in all, I feel like this is what Tony Khan should be delivering. A 2 hour
Yes.
and 50-minute show. All the matches rock, more or less. There's some stinkers, but even the stinkers you kind of forgive.
Yeah. Even the stinkers aren't so bad. You know,
And
there's
then you
very
just move on to the next. Yeah, instead of like a 5 hour fucking show where everyone's given like 90 minutes.
Mhm.
This was really good. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Let,
Super Brawl 3. Witness history in the making at the biggest event of the year, taking place February 21st, 1993 in Asheville, North Carolina. 6,500 people are in attendance. So not a big crowd, but
a
they were
loud
hot.
crowd. It
Yeah.
felt
Yeah, they were hot. The show starts with footage of Vader and Barry Windham whipping and hanging Sting, as a narrator says. This is personal. And Sting is on a quest to conquer the White Castle of Fear.
mhm.
And I remember so I didn't know anything really about this pay per view until I started watching. And then when the narrator said the White Castle of Fear, I was like, oh my God, I heard about this like
Idiots.
decades ago on WrestleCraft. I read
Mhm.
about it. And I'm finally going to watch it. And I'm kind of excited. So I just want to give a little background. So I had to look this up, and there was this mini movie, almost like the
They do
first
it, and they did the first one
cinematic.
at Halloween Havoc '92.
Yeah, it was almost like a cinematic match, the pre-cinematic matches that we've seen during the COVID period. But they had done one for Halloween Havoc with Jake Roberts and Sting, where it's almost like a mini movie, like a little like 6 minute little thing that kind of supposed to get you amped up for this pay-per-view. And they did one here, and it's called the White Castle of Fear. And Sting, he gets a letter to go to a party, an invitation to go to a party and, and the White Castle of Fear in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
Who is stupid enough to go, I'm invited to a party? It's at the White Castle of Fear. He- it's so stupid. He gets in a helicopter. This is you can find this on YouTube. It's 6 minutes long. He gets in a helicopter and he's thinking the whole time, who is inviting me to this? I think I know what I'm getting into. He goes to this cave in the Rocky Mountain where there's a bunch of Vader's whores just like laying around, and this little person with a eye patch named Cheetum is there. And Sting's like, something about this is very familiar. And then Vader comes out, and there's like a table with food and Vader's giant helmet, and Vader knocks it all down, and they get the strap on, and he starts tugging at it, and explodes or something like that. And that is basically, it says to be continued at this pay-per-view, Superbrawl 3. And we're gonna see clips of it
Yeah, we
throughout the show.
I'll say this, the big thing that these
By the way, first, did you watch that White Castle of Fear
I
thing?
seen it years ago because Russell Crap sold a VHS tape that you could buy back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff they talked about. So I saw all these little films on that. And I'll say this. The thing everyone's harps on when they talk about this era is these mini movies. These mini movies are not good. But I think the more important thing to focus on is how good the fucking in-ring action is. Because this is another show that has a shitty reputation because of that movie. And there's no reason for this show to have a bad reputation. I don't give a fuck about the movie.
I would even say that those movies are so bad that they're good.
Yeah, and they're thinking
they're worth watching. I think they're worth watching.
They're trying something. They're trying something. They know they gotta be a little bit more WWF. They missed the mark, but I don't hate them as much as other people. I don't think they're a mistake. And they don't really affect the show. They don't really you can just enjoy the show and not know about the movies. I don't sometimes these guys, it's weird what everyone focuses on and ignores. Like when you actually watch these shows, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Like this is actually a good show.
That's the thing. Wrestle Crap made this whole pay-per-view sound like it was garbage because of that little 6-minute mini movie.
Yeah.
But this pay-per-view is so good. And in my opinion, putting little snippets of that 6-minute mini movie into this pay-per-view made it even better because there were these little comedy breaks in between. And I think this is perfect. I think you know what it's like? The best way to explain it to people, it's like if you saw a pay-per-view, like an AEW pay-per-view, and in between some matches, you saw like little clips of like broken Matt Hardy stuff.
You know what? I would
be good. People would say it'll be good. It'll be good.
They should they should have a mini movie between the Young Bucks and Sting on Sunday in Revolution.
I would even say to Matt Hardy, if I was Tony Khan, I'd be like, you're not gonna do, you and your brother, your bodies are broken. You guys just can't have regular matches anymore. You guys are not that good. How about this though? You're on the payroll and you guys can film more of that broken Matt Hardy stuff, and we'll just put in 1 minute clips in between stuff. How does that sound?
Mm-hmm.
And then if Tony Khan did that, I think it would be the best usage you have of the Hardys, right?
Yeah,
they would give the Hardys.
They want to be in the ring. They still think that they can go because they're.
Oh well, they can't, brother. And here's the thing too. If you did that, it would also make the product different than the WWE. So, anyways, that's the background behind this pay-per-view. I highly recommend before you watch this pay-per-view, you actually watch the White Castle of Fear. It's on YouTube if you want to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Bischoff and Missy Hyatt, they welcome us. And in typical WCW fashion, somebody's injured before this pay-per-view. So he goes, hey, Ron Simmons.
Ron Simmons, I believe, right? Is that it?
Why does this always happen? I feel like almost every pay-per-view.
That's happening.
Hey, remember that match we had scheduled? Well, turns out Sting got injured. Turns out Lex Luger got injured. Turns out somebody's always injured. You know that?
The weird thing about they really think they have something in Max Payne. They really think oh, this guy's gonna be a big deal. They really are convinced. Someone was
Yeah.
convinced this guy was going to be something, and he looks like
So
shit.
yeah, to explain what happened. So Ron Simmons, he's supposed to have a match tonight, but he is out with a shoulder injury. So taking his place tonight will be Max Payne. He is going to step in for Ron Simmons, and he's going to face Dustin Rhodes. Missy is once again excited because she's getting an interview. She's got an interview she's gonna do. She's always excited about an interview she's gonna do, which I kind of like. That it's just like this thing you could always expect on. There's two things you could always rely on in a WCW pay per view. Someone's always gonna be injured before the show, and Missy Hyatt's always excited about getting an interview.
Well, there's a third thing. Jason Hervey will be somewhere.
Jason Hervey, and a fourth thing, some kind of technical glitch has got to happen.
Yeah.
Bischoff introduces Johnny B. Bad, who at this point now, I don't think I've seen him wrestle on a pay per view in a very long time. He's only just doing the hosting stuff now, right?
He's like the Miz now. Yeah, he's like how the
Yeah,
Miz.
yeah, it's very weird. He hasn't wrestled in a match in a very long time. He's just always like a host.
I don't know because I'm not up on my Johnny B. Bad lore. Johnny B. Bad lore. He might have been injured around this period, which is why he's just standing on the stage with Missy.
Oh, okay. His theme song when he comes out goes, he's as pretty as a picture. He looks just like Little Richard. I thought that was really funny. It's like they have to point out, hey, he looks like Little Richard.
Why they're pushing him? He looks like
Yeah,
which is exactly why that's what Dusty wanted him to look like. So,
but he only looks like Little Richard because you dolled him up to look like Little
I know.
Yeah,
And he's a white guy. It's still crazy to me that guy's a white guy.
Yeah, it's I can't believe this is 1993. They're essentially trying to get away with blackface in 1993. It's pretty awful.
Mm-hmm.
He's out in sailor gear, and his job basically is going over a car with everybody. Tony Schiavone is on commentary with Jesse Ventura, right?
Yeah.
That is right. No more Jim Ross.
Jim Ross, after Bill Watts was fired, Jim Ross was told that he could still work in WCW, but he would have to be a salesman for syndication, and he would no longer be on TV. And he left, and he went to WWF. But I think that, dude, I don't care what anyone says. The period where Bill Watts is in control, I don't know how the weekly shows were, but the pay-per-views that Bill Watts is in control of were unwatchable garbage. The best one was maybe the last one, Starrcade 92, and that's because you had Sting-Vader. That was the highlight. The smartest thing he did was have Sting fight Vader a bunch of times. They're unwatchable garbage, and he's the second in command. I totally get, like, now, Bischoff's in charge. He's not in charge of everything, but he's kind of in charge. I totally get why they would be like, we got to get rid of Jim Ross too. Or, like, chase him out of here. Because it was unwatchable.
To his credit, Jim Ross has taken ownership that he was the one who was the problem between him and Jesse Ventura. So you got to give him props for that he is a man enough to admit that.
I think, like I say, like eventually all of Vince's guys are going to go. I think that's what happened. We got rid of Bill Watts, we're going to get rid of his guy.
And I think it's one of those things like where it was beneficial to both parties. Jim Ross leaving was beneficial to WWF, right? But it was also beneficial to WCW. So I think it's one of those things that him leaving was a great thing, because let me tell you, it was almost like Jesse Ventura got like newfound energy.
Yeah,
with Tony Schiavone, he's excited again. He's excited. He's excited to go over the card. And before we start getting to action, they have Max Payne, who is a bad guy, play an electric guitar rendition of the national anthem, which is really fucking good. And it's like, guys, why are you making him do this? He's the bad guy.
I think they thought the fact that he's such a good guitar player was gonna be like their key to making him like Hulk Hogan. I really think someone had the idea, at least as of this show. I don't know what happens at Slamboree, that this guy is going to be one of our top guys. And the reason is
why are you having him be a bad guy if you guys are like
bad guy and you bring him? I don't know. Also, like, these are all old men from the South. They probably think being good at like heavy metal is you're a bad person. So
he's like, oh, he's into that rock and roll, just like that Elvis fella.
Yeah. So but hey, yeah, he is really good at the guitar. He's
very good. Yeah,
but he looks like shit. I mean, I don't know why they let him come out like that. He looks like dog shit. He looks like an indie worker. If he had a different outfit, maybe, and different, I don't know. But it's like, all right, he's good at the guitar, but he's not good at anything else. So
By the way, if you guys want to know, Max Payne, he is Man Mountain in WWE.
yeah, he plays guitar there too. So
Yeah, what?
he plays guitar there too.
He plays guitar there as well. Here's a little fact about him from my perspective. When I was a kid, I actually thought Max Payne was cool. But
Well, he gets a better look when he teams with Cactus Jack.
yeah, but when he was like, I remember this angle on WCW where he broke somebody's arm or something like that, right? With his finisher. But then when he was in WWF, I did not know that was the same guy, right? And I hated Man Mountain. I
I
thought
like
he was so lame. I didn't
I
like
like,
Man Mountain Rock. I liked Max Payne. Even the name sounds cool, Max Payne.
but
But
I
Man
think this
Mountain
Man
Rock
Mountain
sucks.
Rock would have been good for like somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
You
You
could
know
have
what?
called
They look different though. So like it was. I could not tell. I did not know it was the same person. Yeah.
you could call maybe you could call Bronson Reed Man Mountain Rock. That'd be a good name.
Yeah, I almost forgot who Bronson Reed was. Yeah, you're right. He could. He could play man. You know, he played with a didgeridoo. He'd be like, wah, 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 wah.
Oh
Because
man,
he's Australian, guys, or New Zealand.
heard
Yeah.
that. You know what? I bet you if he said it to Vince, if he was still in charge, he'd be like, "Yes, that's what we're doing. That's what
Yeah,
we're doing."
imagine if you went, how about Man Mountain Rock? Vince, remember that great idea? But with this guy with a didgeridoo.
Vince would do it. Vince would do it on Monday.
A giant didgeridoo that looks like the WWE logo.
He would do it on Monday. He would do it on Monday.
Yeah,
He would do it like it
exactly.
would be like 8:05 on Monday. This fucking fat ass would walking out with that stupid thing. But
Yeah.
he's a good guitar player. And he's gonna get a better look. But the look he has right now, it's not. It's an indie look. I don't know why they let him walk out like that.
Oh, it's 100% an indie look. But we'll get to that when we get to this match. Let's go to our first match. It is the Hollywood Blondes of Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. Yes, that famed tag team. We're finally seeing them in action on a pay-per-view versus Erik Watts, who, even though his dad has been fired, is still there. And Marcus Alexander Bagwell, who will go on to be Buff Bagwell. Bagwell and Steve Austin, they start the match, and the babyface, the good guys, double team the bad guys to some cheers. But eventually, Pillman, he gets the better of Erik Watts, and he starts attacking him. But then when Erik Watts gets in control, the crowd starts booing him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear an Eric sucks chant. Now, this is not the first time we've seen a pay-per-view where people are actively booing Erik Watts. People just don't like this fucking guy, you know? Bagwell and Steve Austin, they've got some great chemistry in the ring, in fact. But whenever Erik Watts comes in, yeah, whenever he comes in, people just start booing. And Jesse Ventura questions this. And Tony Schiavone goes, is it booze or is it woos? I remember this is before the whole Simpsons Boo Earns kind of. Yeah. This is before. This is 1993.
But also, I think like he knows I got to get over this guy as a good guy.
Yes,
so and they like him.
But
that was funny. He's like trying to like cover it up because now you acknowledge. If like Cody Rhodes getting booed like this at WrestleMania, they would just totally acknowledge it. But back then,
absolutely right. It's just really funny because Tony Schiavone is towing the company line and he's trying his best, but he was like, "Is it booze or is it woos?"
Tony Schiavone had a really funny line.
Oh my god!
This fake Sting was at World War III '97, and Conrad said to him, "Why did you like pretend that was Sting?" He goes, "I was told to pretend like it's Sting. That's my job." Conrad, if a 500-pound woman in the tutu came out with a Sting mask, I would have yelled out, "It's Sting!" because they told me to yell out, "It's Sting." What do you want me to do? My instruction was I have to pretend that I think this person's Sting. He's like, "All right." And so I'm sure they told him you have to pretend the crowd likes Erik Watts. So he's like,
yeah, absolutely. And I think Tony Schiavone, he's a company man and he does his job well. I think. Yeah. Continuing this match, Erik Watts, he puts on the Boston Crab on Steve Austin, but Brian Pillman breaks it up to some cheers. Brian Pillman tries to attack Erik Watts on the outside, but he hits the guardrail. But the Blondes are able to keep beating on Erik Watts using heel tactics and just constantly beating on him. but the heels just the Hollywood Blondes just constantly like doing bad guy stuff and beating on Erik Watts slowly does start to build some sympathy with him. And
Mhm.
so when he does make the hot tag to Bagwell, everyone's kind of really into it. Eventually, all four
Like
guys are in the ring
Bagwell
at
too.
one.
They like Bagwell, the fans. Yeah.
What?
I think the fans do like Bagwell at this point.
Yeah, fans do like Bagwell, but I noticed that as they were beating on Eric, the
Mhm.
boos became less and less. There's something about that where if you have like a good guy who people just really don't like, if you just constantly get him his ass getting beat, people start to like slowly feel bad for him and they kind of get behind. Happened with Bob Backlund.
But this is the thing, if you stay the course and you do your job, I remember Bully Ray told a story. I don't like Bully Ray, but this is a great story. He had Jericho in a headlock. He goes, remember they were chanting boring. And he said, "You don't tell me what to do. I tell you how to react. So now I'm gonna put this headlock on for another 2 minutes, and then by the end of the match, you'll be on your feet. Because I'm not gonna let you throw me off my game core. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
chant boring, I'm not changing what I'm doing because you're eventually going to get into what I'm doing if I know what I'm doing. And I think that's the thing. They didn't adjust. They didn't suddenly be like, oh, Eric Watts is a heel. They just kept
Yeah,
doing
yeah, exactly.
that, and
Hmm.
people started coming around because we're telling you you're going to like Eric Watts. We don't give a fuck
Yes.
that you're booing now. You're going to wind up liking this guy.
Yes, I see. Yeah, you make a good point because I think, like smart wrestling fans would be like, Marks would say, if he's getting booed, just turn him heel. He should have just been heel, right? But you're right. What they did, they said, no, 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 no. We're just gonna still keep telling this story. We're gonna keep beating on this good guy, and eventually you're gonna turn, and which the fans are gonna turn and follow the storyline. You're right, but it only works if they are doing their job well.
And
You know,
if you're talented like Pillman and Austin were, obviously.
exactly. Those two guys, to their credit, they're really good at their job, and they're really starting to change the course of the tide. Eventually, all four guys are in the ring at once. The referee's trying to get Erik Watts back in his corner, and he's distracted. So while that's happening, Bagwell hits his fisherman suplex on Brian Pillman, but Austin comes off the top rope with an elbow drop on for Pillman to reverse the cover for the win. To me, this was a hot opener. I thought this was a good opening tag.
I thought this was great. This was this was the longest Eric Watts match I've ever seen, and I thought he did a really good job.
Mhm.
I don't think he's that bad. I think there's far worse people. You know, I thought of something. I thought of something. I thought of why I don't like the Swerve Hangman Page matches that AEW's been doing. It's
Mhm.
because
Okay.
Swerve, when he gets cheered, plays up to it. And my thing is, Austin and Pillman never play up. Oh, you're cheering me and making Watts and Bagwell look like fucking idiots. They stay the course. You're supposed to boo me. You're not supposed to be cheering me. You're supposed to not like me. And I don't like the fact that Swerve like puts himself over to the detriment of Hangman. I think that's fucking stupid. And that's why I don't really like their matches, even though everyone on Twitter jerks off to them. Um, I love this. I really like this match, and I think a lot of Eric Watts' hate was because of his dad. I think if his dad never got hired, let's say like fucking Jim Herd was still in control, I don't think he would have got the hate he got. I think his life would have been very different. But his dad was ruining the show. His dad was pushing him. People, if I'm a WCW viewer, I want the dad the fuck out. I just was told the dad got the fuck out, and I want the son the fuck out because you're just part of the problem as well, you know. But I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, I have fair points on everything. I would say the only thing I want to add to that is that I would say this is more that swerve thing is kind of like a modern wrestling problem.
Yeah, I don't like
I've
that.
seen other heels do that where they're like MJF has kind of been guilty of that as well.
Exactly.
Where yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Britt
he
Baker does it too.
yes, Britt Baker's another example. She does it as well. If you should not be you need to watch this match and you guys so if you guys want to know what we're talking about, watch Austin and Pillman. They are clearly there are points where they're getting cheered when they're in there against Watts. They never ever like pony up with that. They stay their course. They're like, we're not feeding into this cheers. We're gonna keep doing our bad guy stuff,
Yeah.
and that's the way it should be. I agree with you, man.
Swerve does some stuff where he like hulks up on Hangman, and I want to say this. I want to say to him, Okay, imagine in WrestleMania 2, King Kong Bundy just no sold the leg drop, started hulking up on Hulk. What do you think would have happened? And do you think that benefits long term Hulk Hogan in WWF? Or do you think that just benefits King Kong Bundy in the moment? You know what I mean?
You know what's his name? Oh, what's it? Conan had made this argument
Mhm.
that he said wrestling has changed now, where because of social media and stuff, people in wrestling, their first job is to get themselves over more than the
Yeah,
product.
and I see that a
And
lot.
that's why you see like Audrey Edwards put herself over before the match, right? Because believe it or not, Conan actually defended her. Not to the point of saying like I like what she does. He just said, he said, yeah, it's wrong. When you're a referee, you're supposed to be in the background. But he said, but do you know she's got like a social media following? She's building her own brand. So like she's like everybody else in this business
My
right now.
friend thinks
They're just trying to get their brand over. I'm
my
like, eh.
friend thinks that she's trying to get acting roles off the
Yes. No, that's exactly what it is. That's what he's referring to. And I think that's why probably like Swerve is also he's putting himself in front of the business, right?
Yeah, but see,
Hmm.
you watch Matt, like you say to somebody, why did Austin become the hottest star in the world? They're gonna throw a lot of WWF stuff. I would show this match. I would show this match and I'd be like, Austin became the hottest star in the world because every time he understood his role in every single match and he played it to perfection. Whatever his role was, he did it right. And that's why he became who he became. And I would if Austin started doing stuff like Swerve does or Audrey Edwards does against Erik Watts, I don't think he would have became Stone Cold Steve Austin. But he always understood his role, and that's why we are where we are. All of us.
That's a fair point. Yeah. All right. So after this match, we get a clip of the White Castle of Fear mini movie. Sting's in a chopper, and a vision of Vader appears, going, "Stinger, we have a date with destiny." And Sting's voiceover goes, "I wonder what this is all about."
Mhm.
Sting, it's about him kicking your ass. I
No,
don't
I have
know.
a theory. I don't want to jump into the main event, but Vader is so fucking good in these matches, and he never shows it in WWF. I have a theory the only thing Vince ever saw of Vader was these mini movies, which is why he was booked and why his matches went the way they did in WWF.
Maybe,
Because
but he was good in these mini movie roles. I thought he
yeah, but
was good.
it's more like a corny fat guy than it is the fucking machine that he is in his matches. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah, it is kind of.
I don't think Vince ever saw this. I think if Vince saw this Sting Vader match, he would have been like, I want both these guys right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't mean to jump ahead, but like Vader in the mini movies and Vader in the ring are like two different things.
really. You didn't like the Stinger. We have a date
Oh,
with
I like
destiny.
everything Vader does. Don't,
Yeah,
dude, I
I like
think
everything so far. Everything I've seen him in WCW, I love. Vader
dude,
is so good.
Vader Vader is one of the most unsung guys. Has a great look. Did I tell you? So I went to the first AEW Dynamite in 2022. That was where I liked the Hangman Brian Pillman, the Hangman Brian Danielson match, right? The one that
Okay,
Hangman actually won, and you didn't really like it. Um, but I wore a Vader shirt. Everyone stopped me to tell me to say like, "Oh my god, that's a great shirt." People love it. Vader is like just the best.
Vader is the best. Yes. Eric Bischoff tells Johnny B. Bad that, hey, Ric Flair is here tonight. And they show you Missy Hyatt is outside where a limousine arrives and she's trying to get an interview, but everyone's escorting her away. And Ric Flair comes out of the limo, and it is his first appearance back in WCW. If you guys recall, it's the last pay per view that we review, which is a WWF pay per view. Ric Flair was there. It was
Mhm.
the Royal Rumble. So this is like literally a month later. Yeah.
So since we're not going to cover Raws and Nitros, when between the pay-per-views there is a Raw and Nitro of Cinevents, I'm mention it to the viewers. Make sure that you watch Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect from that Raw. If you want to, it is an amazing match. It is probably the first great match on Raw, and it's probably the best WWE TV match. Like not on pay-per-view, just on TV. In like I don't even know. Probably like at that point, it's probably the best match they had on free TV. WWE. So go back and watch it. So I think as we get more familiar with the journey, especially when we get to 98, 99, if there's a Raw or Nitro or ECW show, I think people should go check out. I'm going to mention it. So
I will say this though. I think if this is the first time Ric Flair is back on WCW TV or screens, they could have done this a little better.
I still think that they didn't want to go with Flair as the main guy. They wanted him in the Randy Savage role that Randy Savage is in the W, because he starts doing interview segments. He's not positioned as the top guy until we get to 94. He's positioned as kind of like, so even though we all want him as a top guy and the fans want him and they know that they are still trying to downplay him.
Yeah, that's probably why they introduced him this way.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go to match number 2. It is Chris Benoit versus Too Cold Scorpio.
The debut of the killer of Daniel Benoit.
Yes, that's right. Chris Benoit, the killer of Daniel Benoit, and Too Cold Scorpio is there to avenge that future death. Too Cold flips into the ring and he starts jiving in the ring. It's great. Oh, I love it. Tony Schiavone picks Too Cold to win. Jesse Ventura picks, this is before the match even begins, Jesse Ventura picks Benoit to win because according to him, this is his words, Benoit has a killer instinct.
Well, yes. He'll be really happy. He'll be really happy in 13 years because
yeah. Hey, Jesse Ventura, like he fucking knows people when he sees them.
That's why he was a mayor and a governor.
Yeah, yeah. Too Cold Scorpio, he does a lot of flippy stuff in the beginning, but Benoit he's trying his best to keep it mat based because that's the only way he could get control of Too Cold. But Too Cold is able to match him move for move. And Too Cold is just too fast for Benoit. So Benoit has to take a powder outside the ring like twice at least because Too Cold is just too fast for him. Mm-hmm. Eventually, Benoit starts getting an edge on Too Cold and starts beating on him, including a top rope back suplex, good back and forth between them. But time is running out. Remember, these matches are all time. And while Gary Capetta starts the countdown when there's 10 seconds left, when he gets down to the last few seconds, Too Cold hits a cover on Benoit and wins with less than a second to go. The crowd pops huge for that. Great, fantastic ending. I think this was the first Chris Benoit match I've seen in many, many years. And let me tell you, it's really fucking
good. Dude. I will say this. Benoit could have got away with it. That's how good he was in the ring. Because I think a lot of fans would look the other way. He could have got away with it. You know, I hate when people talk about Benoit, they always have to be like, he was such a great performer. You know, and they always have to preface that. But you know what? He really was fucking. He was fucking. He was. I don't know if there's anyone as good at really like. I mean, it's a shame he's a murderer because there's no one as there really is no one just. It's not like he's the most charismatic. It's not like he's the most. He's not. He doesn't have what Shawn Michaels has. He certainly doesn't have what Hulk Hogan has. But just from like, if you just like pure wrestling, if you just are like a Dave Meltzer, AEW, Tony Khan jerk off, he is what when MJF and all and Adam Cole, I'm the best in the world. This is who they think they are. This is the guy. Like just from a pure in ring, and when you get him in the ring with someone who's charismatic, it's fucking fantastic. That's why his matches with Jericho. His matches with Guerrero, his matches with but he's something special with Dean Malenko because they're both charisma vacuums. But those matches, I put on a 99 Nitro and Benoit, and this is when the company was in the garbage. Benoit and Malenko have the opening match. The shit they do to each other, I can't even tell you, Andrew Lee. I'm like, they don't do it in AEW. Like it's fucking crazy the shit they're doing, but it all makes sense. It's not like the fucking top flight fucking Badingo Young Bucks bullshit. It makes sense and it's still crazy in an athletic competition. This was the fastest. This went 20 minutes. It felt like 5 minutes.
Oh yes, that's when they started doing the countdown. I was like, "What is that really it?" Because I know we're doing a lot of Benoit ball washing, but Too Cold Scorpio was just as good in this match.
Look, he didn't. We could still change the timeline. All right. Um, what I'm saying is we have to just. I hate it. Like I'll listen to these movie podcasts. I'll talk about a movie from the '50s, and they go on about how shitty the movie like portrayed women, and I'm like, okay, shut up. Every movie in the '50s portrayed women like that. Just give. Is this a good movie? That was. Is this a good movie for 1950? That's what I need to know, right? And
Yes.
the same thing, like this guy does kill someone. This guy's a piece of shit. Am I going to go out of my way to like watch all Benoit matches? No, but we're going to watch every pay per view ever made. He's on a ton of them, and we're going to judge if you're sitting down and watching the match. Take out that he murdered his family. Just watch the show. Did he do a good job? Yes, he didn't. So the Two Cold Scorpio.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you liked it too. That was a good match.
Mhm.
Let's go to match number 3. Wild Bill Irwin. He is in there, and his opponent is the British Bulldog. That's right, from the WWF.
We can do steroids.
What?
In WCW, he's free to do steroids.
He's free to steroid. Yes, he's free to use steroids again, and he's looking jacked. And the steroids are powering him so much that his power is too much for Wild Bill in this match. Davey Boy Smith clotheslines Bill over the top rope, and Jesse says that could have been a DQ over the top rope. And Tony Schiavone corrects him and says, no, no, only throwing someone over the top rope is a DQ. Clothesline over the top is okay. And I was like, thank you. Finally, someone with some clarification. Dude, how many of these pay-per-views we watched? We were so confused. But this is how good Tony Schiavone is. He clarified that. Something that Jim Ross could never do.
Well, I think also they're fading out that top rope thing because that
Yeah.
doesn't. That's not a thing moving forward. Once Hogan shows up, it's not a that never comes up ever again.
Yeah. In this match, Jesse Ventura cannot get over Davey Boy Smith's cornrows. He keeps talking about the cornrows, says he looks like a Rastafarian. Are you a Rastafarian? Mentioned this so many times. Bill does get in charge for about like a minute in this match before Davey Boy Smith goes, that doesn't work for me, brother. But in a British accent, takes control again, hits the power slam for the win. While it was not an amazing match, it was a very good showcase match for the British Bulldog. What did you think?
It was pretty good. I would have had it been shorter. You know, you're trying to. I think at the time their thinking was, especially because he main evented SummerSlam '92. I know Bischoff said this. They wanted Davey Boy to be one of their top baby faces, and they wanted to tour Europe more with him as the champ eventually. I would have had it be shorter. You don't need to give a Wild Bill Irwin. But then again, I kind of feel like all these old timey wrestler guys, I gotta get my shit in. I mean, he's gonna win. You gonna put the title, but I gotta get my shit in. I'm Wild Bill Irwin. I drew 20 people last Tuesday at the bowling alley, and I'm gonna get my shit in. I don't know. The match ain't gonna go 5 minutes. It's gonna go 7 minutes. I'm gonna get 2 minutes of offense. You know what I mean? And that's all right, baby. I love you, Wild Bill Irwin. You've always been like a brother to me. All right, you're gonna get David Boy. We're gonna give him 2 minutes of offense because we gotta do it. He's been through a lot in life. You know, I feel like, but I would have had to be much shorter. But actually, you know what? It wasn't bad. It was pretty good.
It wasn't bad. And Wild Bill's shit, it wasn't that bad either.
When he started getting his shit in, I got annoyed. But I'm like, all right, this isn't that bad.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it was like he only got like a minute of shit in.
So I know, but he shouldn't have got anything in.
You know what? The funny thing is, I can picture the conversation going like that.
I gotta get my shit in.
Yeah, I just gotta get my shit in. It's like,
he leads back to Vince. I'm still gonna be here for you. You could have me wrestle Sting at Starrcade.
Yeah. And go, listen, brother, you're like a brother to me. I can totally see Dusty going like,
just change the place. He gonna get his shit in a little bit, David Boy. Self him, make him look like a badass, please.
Yeah, I totally can see that.
I know you beat Bret Hart at Wembley, but Wild Bill Irwin, he likes to go hunting with me. So
after this match, Tony Schiavone does interview the Bulldog, and Bulldog does say he's here to become the world champion, and he calls out Vader.
Yeah.
Okay. Johnny B. Bada is with Missy Hyatt, and they both agree that it's great that Bulldog is there for, like you mentioned, their UK tour. So that's what looks like they're getting ready for, and they welcome the next match. The next match is going to have Paul Orndorff, and Eric Bischoff is in the back with Paul Orndorff. And Paul cuts a very Hogan-esque promo by starting off with, "Let me tell you something, Cactus Jack."
Yeah.
But before he can continue, Cactus Jack fucking comes out of nowhere with a shovel, and he scares Paul Orndorff all the way up the aisle into the ring for our fourth match, which is a Falls Count Anywhere match. Cactus Jack versus Paul Orndorff.
Yeah.
Orndorff is able to attack Cactus right away. So even though he's got a shovel, because of that attack, the shovel goes away. And let me tell you something about Paul Orndorff. He is a fucking scary man. He gives him such a beating. He's like choking him with the cord. He's slamming Cactus Jack into the rails hard. Cactus Jack, though, he's a fucking masochist. The pain just gets him stronger. He pulls the floor mats off, exposing the
Oh,
concrete.
this was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The sunset flip on the concrete.
Well, we're gonna get to that. He
Okay.
slams Paul Orndorff on the concrete, and then he drops an elbow on him just for a 2 count. Then Cactus Jack goes up on the top turnbuckle, and then he just fucking dives off of it, and he lands on the concrete just hard on his back. He basically flips over, just lands on the concrete.
Dude, that
For
was
a
harder.
really
That was harder to
shitty
watch than the Hell in a Cell bump.
What?
That was harder to see than the Hell in a Cell bump.
Yeah, and it was for a very shitty sunset flip cover.
Yeah.
And it was very dumb. It's super dumb, but it was very impressive because I don't know how if I had taken that, I would have been like, the match is over.
I've never seen anyone. Dude, of all the crazy shit we've seen in wrestling, like people go through flaming tables, the GC, the way they hit each other with that was that was like the most painful, cringiest thing I've seen in years in wrestling.
Yes, in years.
Crazy that fucking bump.
There was almost like no wrestling move like or offense associated with that move. Basically, picture this, guys. A guy stands up on the second turnbuckle facing outside the ring, and he just basically jumps and flips and lands on his back on the concrete. No mat.
No mat.
That's exactly what Cactus Jack did. It would have been on like a Twitter like meme right now. That's how bad it was. It's awful. It's very awful.
Yeah.
Paul Orndorff has had enough of this crap, and he brings it into the ring. He finally brings him in and he starts beating on him. But then he goes, you know what? It was more exciting when we were outside. So he tosses Cactus Jack back outside, and then they start fighting up the aisles. And this is what I'm talking about, Cactus Jack. If I had taken that dive onto the concrete, I think I would have been done. I was like, that's it. Can you just pin me? And it's just ended. But Cactus keeps going, and you know what Paul does? He grabs Cactus and he fucking flips him over 2 rails. And then Cactus, like, he flips Paul Orndorff over the rails. They're like fighting by the entranceway. And then Paul Orndorff suplexes Cactus Jack right onto the fucking rails. Like, so his back lands on the rail, and then he flips over and he face plants right onto the concrete floor again. And then he traps him in the guardrail, starts slamming his head into the fucking rail.
Here's the saddest part about this match. I've never heard anyone talk about this match in my life until me and you did this right now. I've never heard anyone say seen the pull owner of Cactus Jack. And this guy is literally taking years off his life.
Yes. This is taking years
More
off.
so than Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. And I will say this. This is probably the best usage of guardrails I've ever seen in a match.
Yeah,
you know? Like, they're actually using the guardrails as like weapons and stuff, but they're using it in a very effective way. It's painful, but it looks great. Back at ringside, Cactus Jack is smiling. He's taking a beating and he's smiling. That's a signature Mick Foley thing. Yeah, it's a signature Mick Foley thing. But you know who does not like it? Paul Orndorff. So he fucking sticks his fingers in Cactus's mouth, and he's like holding onto his jaw, and he slaps him across the face. I was like, Paul Orndorff is vicious. He's scary, motherfucker. He is really scary. And
remember he beat up Vader in real life.
Yeah, I've always heard that story backstage. He beat up Vader in real life, and I never really got the sense that Paul Orndorff was vicious when watching his wrestling matches. This match, I was like, this guy is a scary dude. I would never want to fuck with this guy. He's back in the ring. Paul Orndorff, what?
Dead now, so you beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, he starts ripping off Cactus Jack's knee braces, and he's choking him with it, and he puts on the figure 4. Back on the floor, Paul Orndorff, he slams Cactus's knees on the concrete, his head on the concrete. And Cactus takes a bump from the apron back to the floor again. Paul Orndorff gets a chair, and he starts hitting Cactus's exposed knees. And because he's just demolishing Cactus Jack, he starts getting a bit cocky. and he starts posturing to the crowd,
Mhm.
doing the Hulk Hogan poses with the fucking "Can I hear you" things. And as he's doing this, he's not paying attention to Cactus Jack, who has somehow gotten the shovel in his hands again. And then when Paul Orndorff turns around, he whacks him in the head for Cactus Jack to win. The crowd fucking loved this ending. I did as well. Did you like this match and ending?
This was the best Paul Orndorff match I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing to me is Cactus Jack kills himself to get this guy over, and they never do really anything with him for the next 2 years. He just gets tag matches and like pushes that go nowhere. I'm talking about Paul Orndorff. But Cactus Jack obliterates himself. And this is why I love Cactus Jack matches and I hate them. Because after I met this guy, I realized this. He's not taking those bumps to get Paul Orndorff over. He's getting himself over. He only cares about getting himself over, you know? And it's like to the detriment of his family, to this, that, and the third. I realized how selfish he was when I met him. And I like the match, but also I'm like, you're doing this because you know no one else back there is going to do this. Like, no one's going to do this. Like, not even the Young Bucks. If you ask the Young Bucks to do that fucking what he did, two of those bumps that he did on a Sunday, they're going to be like, no. I guarantee you, if Tony Khan asked, hey, to get over Sting, can you do the sunset flip thing on concrete? They'd be like, no, why would I do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
And
he's
now
doing it.
it's very selfish because now his wife has to spend the rest of her life putting socks on for him.
Yeah, so it's like impressive, but it's like you did that because I'm going to stand out. I remember that more than a lot of the other things that happened this pay-per-view. A lot of other guys killed themselves, but they don't do what Cactus Jack did. And you were willing to do that to stand out. And it's great. It's also kind of weird, selfish. I don't like it. However, this was the best Paul Orndorff match I've ever seen. What a great match.
Yeah. And it's 100% more to get himself over. I mean, he does win. Remember, Paul Orndorff
Yeah,
loses
yeah,
this match. So it was a very good match, yes.
yeah.
Bischoff, Johnny B. Bad, and Missy Hyatt, they're back again, and they bring up the fact that, hey, Missy, you didn't actually get that interview. And she's like, yeah, she's all sad about it. And then Bischoff asks Johnny B. Bad for his expert analysis on Max Payne, which I thought was really funny. They kept turning to him. Then we're going to go to our fifth match, which was a very big, happy surprise for me. The Heavenly Bodies are in this, but it's actually the returning Jim Cornette and Sweet Stan Lane, but they're with Dr. Tom Pritchard and Bobby Ian. They're no longer the Midnight Express. They're now called the Heavenly Bodies. Cornette gets in the microphone, does a great welcome back promo. And they're gonna do the Sweet Stan Lane part where he introduces Jim Cornette, but they cut him off with the music. And who is their opponent? Well, it's the Rock and Roll Express. They're back as well, brother. I was so happy to see all these guys back. What about you? Were you happy?
Yes, this is a very brief. So Cornette has started Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and he's kind of doing a partnership with WCW, where he's like the TNA to their AEW, right? And that's what we got on the show. The relationship falls apart after this show. He never comes back to WCW, but then in August he shows up in WWF with Yokozuna, and then until the end of the road, Smoky Mountain does like a TNA team up with WWE.
Oh, okay. Well, this was even though it's short lived, this was a very welcome sight. Now,
It was
some of
fun.
you guys are wondering, it's like 3 against 2, and here it is. So that's why they do some kind of deciding, and they decide, Bobby, and you go to the back.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a 2-on-2 tag match. Dr. Pritchard and Robert Gibson, they start off, and the Rock and Roll Express are just manhandling both these guys. Just tandem tag team moves. Sweet Stan Lane, he tries to Irish whip. There's a fun spots in this match. There's Sweet Stan Lane, he tries to Irish whip Ricky Morton into a buckle, and then Robert Gibson, like, he throws his body on the buckle to like protect his partner. And then when the roles are reversed, and then when the heels are trying to do it, and Pritchard tries to go up to like use his body to cover the buckle, he just gets kicked for his troubles, and just gets like kicked a whole bunch of times. Great spots, very funny. Tony Schiavone informs us originally the Wrecking Crew was supposed to be in this match, but the Rock and Roll Express took their place. I did not recall this tag team at all, so I looked them up.
The Beverlys.
There was. Do you know this tag team?
Yes, the Beverly Brothers.
No,
Oh,
not them. It's
Nope.
the Wrecking Crew.
That was their name in
Not-
AWA.
yeah, it's a different tag team, and one of the members in this tag team is actually the third Laurinaitis brother. I did not know there was a third Laurinaitis brother that wrestled. I did not know this.
Oh, he's the one that pees on the girls while Vince and John poop on them.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah. Um, they do this fun crisscross segment in match, and then Morton runs outside. He chases Jim Cornette into the ring, who takes a bump. Another fun spot. Jim Cornette eventually gets his revenge by tripping up Ricky Morton for the Heavenly Bodies to finally take control of this match, and he starts beating on Ricky Morton. But Morton finally is able to hit a double DDT and makes the hot tag and the Rock and Roll Express start beating on everybody. And while Robert Gibson is distracted by Jim Cornette, he gets hit with a Dr. Tom Pritchard Bulldog. But the distracted ref is too late for the 3 count. And while the referee is distracted again, Bobby Eaton returns behind the ref's back. And he goes up top. He goes on to drop an elbow, but he drops it on his partner instead. And Gibson jumps on the fallen Tom Pritchard to win a very exciting match. After this match, the Heavenly Bodies are really mad at Bobby Eaton for costing their victory. Well, what did you think about this match?
It was good. It was very, very, very good. It was really good. On most shows, it'd be probably one of the best matches. It wasn't my favorite. I actually thought Erik Watts and Austin had a better tag match. I got to tell you though, I bet you Shawn Michaels watched this because he did watch WCW back then all the time. I bet you Shawn Michaels watched this, and when he saw Ricky Morton come out, he's like, that can never be me. I can never go back the way this guy went back. I have to, you know what I mean? I have to work harder and I have to be like more motivated because they never try to push those two guys as single stars ever again. They kind of just become mid carders for like the next 30 years, the Rock and Roll Express.
I can see that, yeah.
But it was fine. It was good. It was good.
Ray, we're 5 matches in already, and I'm enjoying myself.
It's not been
5 matches. They're all good. This is
even the worst match, and I wouldn't say it's a bad match, but even the worst match is like,
even the worst match, which was that Bulldog match, wasn't even a bad match.
Right? Oh yes, that's worse than the Rock and Roll Express. You're right. Yes.
Yeah. Back at the cave, at the White Castle of Fear, Sting is now in the cave and he's standing there with shades on, looking at Vader's hot babes. I thought that was really funny too. Where are the hot babes just randomly in this cave in a mountain?
Well, because Vader can't be in the cave alone. He's gotta get fucked.
It's so funny. It's so campy. It's so good. Like I really think people should watch it. It made this pay-per-view so much more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura, they're doing an analysis of Max Payne. Everybody loves analyzing Max Payne. They're just like so into Max Payne.
Somebody was like, he's gonna be the guy.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like how in comedy there will always be like this new young comic that comes out of nowhere that everybody's so in love with, and like they're the talk of the comedy scene in New York City for about a month, and then it just goes away. To find somebody else. That's what it kind of felt like. Jesse Ventura thinks that Max Payne will win because Dustin was preparing for Ron Simmons, so he's not prepared for Max Payne. This is the 6th match for the U.S. title. Max Payne versus the champion Dustin Rhodes. Jesse Ventura loves Max Payne's coat. And they mentioned that this is a WCW rules match. I did not like Max Payne's coat because it's like a trench coat with like flames on it. It was a very indie-esque trench coat. And this is where I think he has that really indie look, you know?
Yeah.
Dustin Rhodes is in control for most of this match until Max Payne kind of like launches Dustin, but holds onto his arm and yanks him down the mat. It's a great move, great spot, and allows Max Payne to get in charge. Throughout this match, Tony Schiavone does keep mentioning Max Payne's got this arm submission. They call it the painkiller, and it puts people away. And Jesse Ventura keeps mentioning that he's from Euphoria. You know he's from Euphoria? I was like, all right, this guy loves Max Payne.
The show with Zendaya?
Zendaya.
With Zendaya.
Oh, Euphoria. That's right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, he's Jesse Ventura. He knows stuff that's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin Rhodes finally regains control of this match, and the match picks up again. As much as these commentators do love Max Payne, he is a big fat fuck, and he's slow in the ring. I'm just calling it how it is. He's not
Oh, it is.
terrible, but he's slow. He's wearing like sweats in there. He's just like slow, and Dustin has to like get back in control for the match to really start happening again. Dustin puts on the abdominal stretch, but Max Payne grabs the referee and he pulls him into Dustin Rhodes. The ref calls for a DQ. Payne keeps trying to beat on Dustin on the outside, even though the match is over, and Dustin's able to fight back. And that is how the match ends. What did you think, Ray Goots?
This was the worst match. I couldn't get into it. Dustin's great. Max Payne wasn't ready for this level of push. I know he's never gonna, knowing what happens in the future, he's never gonna be ready. To me, this is the equivalent of you put on a show in like 2005 and they're like, fucking Luther Reigns is gonna be the next, and the whole show's about how great Luther Reigns is. I know he's going nowhere, and it's not believable. So
Okay. The only thing I want to add to that is that yes, I agree with you on all that, but it also wasn't as bad as some of the shit we've seen in WCW. It's
no,
still
no,
not
but on this show, it's by far the worst thing.
on this show. This will be the worst thing you're gonna watch,
Yeah.
but it wasn't even that bad because Dustin Rhodes is so fucking good. He could work with anybody.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't
At
like.
this point, I see Dustin Rhodes as like that guy who could wrestle like a broomstick and make it look good.
Oh yeah, he should have been the guy back then. He should have been like after Sting lost, after they moved Sting down the card, instead of Davey Boy Smith, it should have been Dustin Rhodes and Vader. Like,
You know why I don't think it was ever gonna be Dustin? It's his body.
but I don't think that matters in WCW.
He's got like no muscle.
I don't think that matters in WCW. I think you could have got away with it in WCW. Yeah, Bobby Eaton's flabby ass, fucking beating everybody. I don't.
I mean,
yeah,
but they're never top guys. Like Sting and Luger, they're never gonna be like that level because of the way they look.
I think you could have got away with it with Dustin in WCW.
See, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the cave, the White Castle of Fear. One of my favorite part, Vader screams "Stinger!" and then the mirrors shatter. I fucking love that. It's so funny. It's so dramatic. He screams "Stinger!" and then like a mirror shatters. Oh, it's so good. Eric Bischoff, Missy Hyatt, and Johnny B. Bad, they're talking about her surprise, and guess what her surprise is? It's welcoming Ric Flair back into the ring. Tony Schiavone, he is with Ric Flair, who cuts a very crowd-pleasing promo, and he is joining commentary for the next match, which is match number 7 for the NWA World Title. Barry Windham versus the champion, Great Muta. Pee Wee is the referee, and he says that he starts going over the rules. Guys, fellas, this is the NWA rules. Top rope moves are okay in this. You could just fucking jump off and attack anybody you want. While talking about Muta, Ric Flair, who was good on commentary, does say all those jabs are tough. About the first 13 minutes of this match are a bit slow with like a lot of headlocks and stuff. And it only ends when it is passed over for a long sleeper hold by Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura says, if Muta goes back to Japan without the title, he won't get no sushi for a year. That was really funny. More chin locks by Barry Windham, and he's maintaining control of majority of this match. Very slow match. Windham tries to go for a superplex, but Muta fires back and starts attacking Barry Windham. But then he misses a moonsault, so he tries it again. This time, Barry Windham gets his knees up and hits the DDT for the win. The crowd is very happy with the finish of this match. After this match, Ric Flair gets into the ring. He hands the title over to Windham, and then he starts putting it on Windham's back. Windham turns around, he faces off against Ric Flair. This looks like it's going to be Ric's first feud back. What did you think about this match and the setup afterwards?
Itself was fantastic. So it's probably the best Barry Windham match I've seen so far. Really fucking great title match. Here's the thing, though. People don't want Ric Flair to have this fucking NWA belt. It means nothing anymore, right?
Yes.
They want him to go for the WCW belt. He says, when Ric Flair goes like, the title I never lost, it's like, oh, you're already like, this guy, you already have let us know he's only going to be like the mid-card champ, right? You've already told it, because he didn't lose. He never lost the WCW world title. That's the title he never lost. He was WCW when he walked away. And that's who he should be looking at Sting and Vader. But you're already telling us No. He's back, but he's gonna go for this dinky belt. That doesn't matter anymore. And I thought, like, even though he's back, he's not back the way he should be. But I thought the match itself was fantastic, and he was pretty good on commentary. And
Okay.
he right away is back now in the elder statesman role rather than the Looney Tune that he was acting in WWE. So,
Yes. I will say I'm gonna have to disagree with you on a couple of things. Number one, I do agree that Ric Flair was great on commentary. This was not that good of a match, and
oh,
I
okay,
thought I've seen better Barry Windham matches.
all
Like the
right.
one where he was in a championship match against with Luger was better than this one. This was kind of a little slow for me.
Mhm.
While it was better than the Max Payne match, this was probably the penultimate in the worst matches in this card. However, still a good, decent match. For this card, it's not bad.
I thought they worked pretty well together, Muda and Barry Windham. Probably Muda's gonna be in WWE games, so there you go.
He's gonna be in the NWA, the WWE game.
Yeah, the one that's coming. Yeah, the
Oh,
WWE.
that's pretty cool, dude. I would love it if they actually came out with like Muda merch, more merchandise. I don't
They
know
will.
why they don't. I think they could.
I think they will because Sandman and the Headbangers signed a deal with them to make merch, and they're in the game. So if Muda's in the game and he has a T-shirt, I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see a Muda elite pretty
Yeah,
soon.
I would like to see a Muda Elite. Yeah, I get it. Like not making a Elite figure for Fujinami, I get it. But Muda, even if some people don't know who that is, he's got a great look.
But
You know?
now I think now they make a lot of niche figures for like the real collectors. So you could
Yes.
get a Fujinami figure now, and now I think Muda would sell. And I think if you're a kid, if you make a 1989 Muda figure and I give it to like my little nephew, he's gonna be intrigued. He's not gonna be
Yeah.
like, what do I give it? Because he had a good look.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dude, if you ask me, I wish they could make a figure for Inoki, Fujinami, and Muda. They should do even a 3-pack. The Hall of Famer, the Far East, or whatever. But
Also, Jushin Liger.
Jushin Liger too. Yeah, they should. He's another one where even if little kids don't know who he is, they'll just be like, "This guy looks like a Power Ranger."
Maybe he just wouldn't agree to the deal like that.
Yeah.
Maybe
So the thing with Liger is he's under a Legends contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so I get why he can't do that. Muda, he is with Noah, and Noah would bend over backwards to let them do that because
Yeah,
they're
and
bitch.
Muda was that. I don't know if you remember, but he was in the front row during Nakamura's match with Seth at Night of Champions or something. One
Yeah,
of the.
so I don't know why they don't like because Muda's under a different kind of contract. He's
Well,
not with New
I
Japan.
think you'll probably see the announcement at like Access at WrestleMania when they announce
Yeah,
stuff.
great. I would love to see that. I think it'd be great. So let's go to our final match, the White Castle of. So the only thing about this main event that I kind of there's a couple of things I didn't like, but one of them is that this is what the match is called: the White Castle of Fear, lights out, leather strap match, not sanctioned by WCW. That's the name of this fucking match. It's just what the. It's too long. It's just
Yeah,
too long.
I just call
Yeah.
it the White Castle of Fear match.
Yeah. It is Vader is a champion, and he comes down with Harley Race, and it's going to be facing Sting. And basically, this is a strap match. You guys know how I feel about strap matches. I love strap matches. Basically, these guys are connected by a strap, and the first person who touches all four corners, four turnbuckles, or poles wins the match. Very early on, Vader drops an elbow drop on Sting's nuts, and he splashes him from the second turnbuckle. Sting gets his revenge because he nuts Vader with the strap, and he starts punching Vader, even punching him down, and then hits a bunch of splashes from the top, and he starts whipping Vader with the strap. Harley Race gets a shot on the apron as well. Vader has to roll out of the ring in shame, only for Sting to pull him into the post, and this is when you see that Vader is just gushing blood all over his back from those strap shots. Nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Sting touches two of the posts, but Vader he pulls Sting into the rail to break it up, and then back in the ring, Vader is now in control, and he starts whipping Sting. And Jesse Ventura says it reminds him of Tony Schiavone whipping his children. Tony Schiavone did not like that comment. He was annoyed. He was like, "Shut up, Jesse." I thought it was funny. Vader hits a Samoan drop off the second turnbuckle, devastating. But Vader misses a splash on the top. So then he tries it again, and this time Sting crotches him, and then he yanks him off the top rope with the strap. Vader is able to fight back, and he starts touching the buckle. He gets up to 3, but then Sting breaks it up. Vader starts beating on Sting some more, and Sting is now bleeding from the forehead, and Sting hits a heel kick, and he starts firing back, including a German suplex and a DDT. At this point, Vader is bleeding as well. He's bleeding from the ear. It's a bloody mess of a match. Sting holds up Vader in a fireman's carry, but Vader's legs kind of hit the ref, and the ref falls. Sting goes and he hits 1 buckle, 2 buckle, 3 buckles, and he's going to the 4th buckle, but he trips over a fallen referee and he falls down. I was like, oh, what a great spot that was. Vader starts dragging Sting around the buckles, and he gets up to 3 buckles, and he's trying to go for the last one, but he can't do it. Sting kicks off Vader, and Vader, as he's falling backwards, hits the 4th buckle for the win. Sting, being a poor sport that he is, starts attacking Vader afterwards, trying to whip him some more. The crowd is booing. This was a weird, very weird WCW ending. And basically a very excited, jolly Eric Bischoff and Johnny B. Bad and Missy Hyatt, they're closing the show. Missy Hyatt and Bad go, hey, we're invited to that party up in the White Castle of Fear. See you later. Wyndham comes and joins Eric Bischoff, and he goes, hey, I want to talk about Ric Flair. And that is how the show ends. Very good match. Very WCW ending to a good match. However, I still like this match a lot.
This match was fantastic.
Yes.
The violence, this was such a fucking war. If only had a better finish. I think strap matches shouldn't have that corner thing. I mean, I kind of get the drama, but I kind of feel like I guess the corner thing, because like there's the drama is you have to drag the guy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
But sometimes sometimes the wrestlers can fuck it up. But just the blood, the violence. I mean, the way Vader moves. I mean, Vader is both like a fucking giant, like he's like Godzilla, and he's like, this is how Keith Lee should wrestle. This is how you should be booking some of these meat. I hate this fucking term meat, like meat madness and stuff. Like this is how you book these guys. This is how you book Rusev and Power.
You know what I call them? Big fat guys. That's what I call them. Big fat guys.
Right? But like, this is how you book a big man.
Yes.
Man. So fucking good. So fucking excellent. Again, you know what? Watch Sting versus Vader at Great American Bash, Starrcade 92, and this match. Probably one of the best trilogies I've ever seen of matches. Fantastic pay-per-view. This is everything that WCW should have been. And if WCW had been this, especially, you know, when in 2000, after they got rid of Vince Russo, they started making shows like this. I don't think they had the talent anymore, but if they attempted to, they kept trying to do cute WWF booking, and they don't have the brain power or the talent to do it. I think they would have. You know, it's hard to say because I get what Bischoff is basically, because of the merger, WCW is going away no matter what. Like, even if they were still beating Vince, AOL is gonna be like, we don't want wrestling on the channel anymore. You know. But I don't know, man. This is what AEW should be. I think the AEW pay-per-view should be 3 hours. They should not be. I'm dreading Sunday. I'm going to watch it because I'm going over to David's house.
Jesus, you are?
Well, it's right by New York. He lives right by New York Comedy Club. I'm doing Ryan's show. So.
Oh, I guess you're right. Okay, that makes sense.
I get to see it for free. But man, this is what AEW should be. This exact show is what every AEW pay-per-view should be.
This was Superbrawl 3. I would recommend everybody watch it from top to bottom. I have not recommended that kind of a watch for a pay-per-view in a very long time. And I'm saying you can watch it from top to bottom. You'll enjoy it. It's a very good show.
The great thing about the show, too, is Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura, they do the WWF style of shitting on each other and goofing on each other, but they also take the matches seriously. It's a really good fucking blend because he plays the Jesse Ventura strengths while still making it a very WCW show, not trying to copy WWF style. It's really fucking good. And just a great show, man.
Yes, overall great show. Fantastic.
Fantastic. But I'll tell you what's not going to be fantastic. Is what's going to be going down the next few weeks. Next week, it's WrestleMania 9. Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. This has been heralded as the worst WrestleMania of all time. That's what I've heard from so many people. I think 11 is worse, but we'll figure.
I've actually never watched WrestleMania 9. Right when I was a kid, and I couldn't afford the pay-per-view, so I read about it in the magazine. That's how I found out Bret Hart loses.
Mhm.
And I was so distraught. I just never wanted to
Oh,
watch
see,
this.
like I'm doing with King of the Ring. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I never wanted to watch this. And I oh man, I'm not looking for I feel
Well,
like
every match that sounds like it could be good is not. That's the thing. Like
yeah,
when they announced this card as a kid, I was like, every match on this could be a banger, and somehow they all are shit. So, like every match with Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez has had the potential to be fucking amazing, and none of them are good.
yeah.
Then after that, we have Slamboree 93 main event British Bulldog versus Vader. I have seen this show. I haven't seen it in years, but I did watch it when I was younger. I did not like it. Just to give you a heads up.
Slamboree.
Yeah, 93. Then in 3 weeks, we have King of the Ring 93. And the main event of that is Hulk Hogan Yokozuna, a show I have never seen. So here we go. And then in 4 weeks, I think this is a show neither one of us have seen. It's Beach Blast 93. The main event of that is Sting and Sid Vicious. I'm sorry, Sting and Davey Boy Smith versus Sid Vicious and Vader. So what are you
I
looking
will
forward to?
say this. When I was a kid, I did see the mini movie for it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, yeah. I, it was I don't, that was a good mini movie though.
I like that
It's
they
so
did the
stupid.
mini movie for Slamboree. They were like, no, 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 no. Slamboree
Yeah.
we're gonna do it for all right, guys, that's the show. We're back on our regular schedule. We'll have an episode, we'll have WrestleMania 9 out next Friday. And if you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe, leave us a comment on if you have anything to say, and follow us, Andrew Son of Lee on Instagram, Ray Goots on Instagram, and Ray Goots Comedy on TikTok. And then we have the Patreon, Goots Forever. No one ever subscribes to it, but you should. It's only $1. All right. I know, Brute. All right, guys, that's our show. We'll see you next week. It's a road to WrestleMania. And we're going to WrestleMania 9. We'll see you then.